So let's move on to the federal election, which will be taking place before the end of May this year, so not long to go. We should be firing up. They're already running ads and so on. But the reality here is the argument seems to be, is Peter Dutton being too cautious in not following a kind of more Trumpish agenda, or is he doing the correct thing by playing it slightly more cautiously? Personally, I believe he should be backing the Trump agenda 100%. He started to. There was a good comments on transgenderism on the great interview he did with Peter Dutton the other night, which I hope you all watched. But there are many areas, particularly this hate speech stuff, which I think we are heading 180 degrees in the opposite direction to America on free speech. We're doing the e-safety, Karen type deep state stuff. We're doing all of this clamping down on free speech is the exact opposite of what America is doing, James.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, and just on this question of, Peter Dutton and a Trump-style agenda, well, on some of these things, he ticks the box. You got to give him credit on transgenderism and, particularly the sports issue, which is, absolutely crucial. I think that's something that everybody agrees on, that you just simply can't have biological males competing with girls in sport. That's such basic common sense. The problem Peter Dutton has, though, is, number one, he seems to be very afraid of being called Trumpian, So he's afraid of the Herald and the Age, the ABC going after him for this, which I think is I think it's a mistake, because what the issue is then is that he winds up trying to make everything about, cost of living, which it is, and the economy is very important. But when you do that, you also do two things. Number one, you cede control of the rest of the debate to Labor and the left. So you might have, a fine cost of living argument, but then every other thing you wind up losing. And you live in a country where you don't have free speech, where you've got the boys and girls thing and all of these sorts of things. But the other thing, too, is once the economy starts to improve at all, then suddenly Labor takes that argument away from you and you don't have it, because Labor can always give you more stuff. And if you look at the scare campaigns that Labor is running now, it's all about the Libs are going to take away your free stuff. So they have to find something more to compete on than this area.
They can't just presume that a cost of living debate is going to get them over the line.
Precisely.
Because Labor can write checks better than anybody. They can give away things. You come up with a fantastic idea to cut costs or to improve people's living standards, Labor can replicate it, say, that's a good idea, that's our policy now. So you need to have more. Politics is about values. It's not just about economic conservatism, because every politician pretends they're an economic conservative. And if you are too gutless, if you're so terrified of the media putting a label on you that you're not going to prosecute arguments that are mainstream, that are largely supported, then get out of the game. This is a conviction game.
Well, I agree,
and if you don't have conviction, you shouldn't be in politics.
Absolutely, and I've said all along, and we've said on this show, since The Voice, really, all the Libs have to do is track down those 60-40 arguments and prosecute them. I'd say, and that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's taking all the 80-20 arguments, in other words, where the public are 80% behind the Trump agenda and the left are down in the 20%. And he's prosecuting every single one of them relentlessly. He's doing it. It's been the most exciting 2 weeks in world politics. It's just been astonishing. Exactly. And we'll talk more about that. We've got some great guests. But the point is, Peter Dutton's picking some of these things and he's prosecuting the one flag thing, fantastic. Standing with Jacinta Price behind him, fantastic. Got to see a lot more of that. But then stepping back on things like free speech and climate change, big mistake, because that is the absolute heart of the Trump agenda. And if Peter Dutton and the coalition get into government, which I firmly believe they will, they're going to be hamstrung by these stupid election commitments to stay with net zero when they should, when the world is moving in the opposite direction.